call the meeting. Regular meeting of April 10th, 2024. And we'll need a roll call for attendance, please.
Councilors Grambly,
Here.
Kroger,
Here.
Bacon,
Here.
Schuyler,
Here.
Scoville,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer,
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here. All right, that brings us to additions and deletions and/or deletions to the agenda. Anybody have anything?
I do.
We got.
To add to the consent agenda is the renewal of the tavern liquor license for the patio at Steps.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Is there anything on the consent calendar anybody wants to pull off, or is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second. Motion made by Beth, seconded by Russ, and that's with the addition of the other thing that Pam mentioned. We need to have a roll call vote, please, since we have two people.
Councilors Grambly,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Bacon,
Aye.
Schuyler,
Aye.
Scoville,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer.
Aye. Great, thank you. That passes unanimously. That brings us to public comments. Establish time on the agenda for the public to address council on any item that's not otherwise on the agenda. Is anyone who wants to add anything?
It's me.
Welcome.
Council, my name is Kyle Ronimus. And
Oh, I'm sorry, can you spell your last name?
Ronemus.
Thank you.
I don't live in your beautiful town. I live 4 miles east of your beautiful town. I come to town generally at least once a day, often twice. When I do, I usually spread my money around at the market or the gas station or one of your fine restaurants. Maybe office store, maybe I get funky at the Sherbino some night. But anyway, I know you guys hear a lot of negatives. And I'm just here to tell you what a great town you have and what a great job you're doing. Your staff, your young manager. I think you're all extremely competent. And I know you hear a lot of negatives, and I just thought I wanted to throw out a little positive. You guys seem to hear both sides before you make a decision. And I think a lot of that comes from great leadership from your mayor, Mayor Clark, for many, many years now. I think one of the most exciting things about your town right now is the vibrant feeling that comes along with so many young families living here. When our kids were young, there weren't a lot of kids here. We'd often say slim pickings, you know, as far as friends and girlfriends and all that. But every day, like when I see the soccer team, the young soccer kids or the baseball kids or parents around town, it's just pretty darn nice to see. Another fun thing about your town is how many incredible restaurants you have for such a small town. And with new ones popping up all the time, and still you got the great old ones, the great, you know, leadership from people like Tammy in your town. This exciting new project at the fire station. I know not everybody's thrilled with it, but I think you can't totally stop progress. And if you're going to move forward, you might as well build something as cool as that's going to be. Finally, your parks and trails, you keep it so well maintained. The athletic park is a true gem. I've been lucky enough to travel the world some. And that park, especially on a clear day, winter or summer, it's hard to beat anywhere in the world. And you guys realize what you have there and the whole process you went through with the town and taking in all the input and the exciting changes that are coming to it. It's all very, very cool. I recently got a new knee and I rehab walking up and down that path every day. And I just so appreciate it. Along the same line, I'm part of the dog group that goes down there. I go down generally Monday and Friday mornings. And it's so nice that I've stated before here that the dog poop boxes are rarely empty. And occasionally if they are, I'll call Pam or somebody and the next day they're full, which is nice because we dog people so appreciate what we're able to do down there. And we always pick up our own or tell everybody if somebody's dog is doing it. And it's just so nice that those boxes are always full, and I appreciate that. I guess along the same lines, every day I come in to walk my dog at the park about 3 o'clock, and I take 1 or 2 trips up and down. I'll take a couple extra bags and clean up all the poo I can see, because there again, we so appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, really. I could appreciate it.
Yes.
So anyway, I guess that's about it. I'm gonna make another little tiny donation for some more dog bags. And anyway, great job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. That's very kind of you.
Hey, Mark, thank you so much for the good words. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and the extra above and beyond on the pickup duty as well.
Yeah, picking up other people's dog poop is way above and beyond. We really,
That's what I'll go down in history as the dog guy.
yeah, there's a special place in heaven for people like you. And while we're on it, I meant to start the meeting with this, but I feel the need to mention the passing of one of Ridgway's most incredible citizens this last week, a little more than a week ago. And Patrick O'Leary was one of a kind, gentleman, a scholar. He had the gift of gab that so many Irishmen have. And he just had such a huge heart. He did so much for this town. As a founding member of the Sherbourne board, I know for a fact that the Sherbourne wouldn't be the gem that it is in downtown Ridgway today if it weren't for Patrick O'Leary. Same for the 610 Art Cooperative Collective. And what he started at the firehouse, I'm just so sad that he's not going to see it finished, but it will be a great monument to a great man. And I just like to ask that we just take a few seconds to moment of silence for Patrick O'Leary. Thank you. So, next up on a much brighter note, we have the lovely opportunity to welcome 2 new administrative staffers in the clerk's office. We have Administrative Assistant Becky Schmitz and Customer Service Clerk Lori Patton. You guys want to stand up? Welcome. So glad to have you.
So Becky and Lori both started on Monday and they're already like on it. And they're great additions to the clerk's office and we're really, really glad to have them.
We're thrilled to have you. Thank you.
Grateful to be here and be part of the community.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
That takes us to item number 7, which Edward just walked in time to address. Presentation regarding planning for celebration of the 150th anniversary of Colorado statehood. Edward and Carolyn are on this. Is Carolyn here as well?
Carolyn is out of state and she's en route, but she won't make it back.
Okay, you can take it on.
I'll take it up.
Welcome.
Thank you. Is this on? I guess. Okay. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Edward Govey. I'm the treasurer for the Ridgway Western Heritage Society, and I worked all summer at the Visitor Center. So I'm getting smarter about tourists around here. And I should tell you too, I just got my handouts from Montrose this afternoon, so I will give you handouts with some web addresses because you will have a homework assignment out of this presentation. Most of my remarks will be summarized on one page here, so don't worry too much about taking notes. You may be thinking about 2026, that's 2 years from now. What are you talking to us tonight for? But as with any big event, there's a lot of advanced planning, and the state legislature is ahead of the curve, believe it or not, because 2 years ago in 2022, they passed legislation that set up a committee and an organizational structure to advance the celebration for Colorado's 100th anniversary and tie it in with America's 250th anniversary. Now, those of you that have no hair or gray hair like mine probably remember the bicentennial, and it was a national big deal. We had commemorative coins from the mint. We had parades. The Navy was into all the ports of call, fireworks, the whole thing, and it was a really big deal. And so chances are it'll be a big deal again. Now, Colorado, of course, has their centennial at the same time, and the state government is basically inviting America to come to Colorado and celebrate here as well. So we don't have any projections yet, obviously, but there's going to be some national publicity out of it, and we can expect a bump statewide more than we would otherwise get. That's the thinking, assuming no black swan events and all that, right? So there is a commission that's already established, and they have given the lead to History Colorado. And those of you might not be familiar with that name because it's a little bit new. I think it used to be called the Colorado, I'm blanking out here, State Historical Society. That's what I'm trying to think of. Okay, so history is going to be a big part of anything that goes on in Colorado. Now, they have set up an organizational structure, and they have defined 4 main themes for the Colorado celebration, which will be specifically celebrate, educate, experience, and preserve. They have divided Colorado up into regions. There are 8 regions. We are in the mountains and mesa region. That is a big region, and it stretches from Grand Junction all the way down to Durango and west out to the Utah state line. It's so big that it's divided up into 3 subregions. And we are tied in with Durango. Each one of those regions has a regional coordinator. And we've had some meetings already that I've gone to. And everything is getting pushed down to the community level. And for our area here, Carolyn Snowbarger, as already mentioned, was going to be here and make part of this presentation, but she is the coordinator for Ouray County. And it's really pushing down to the county, and the job of the county coordinators is to push it down to the cities and smaller towns like us. So really the whole thing is a big pyramid, and we're down at the bottom, but we're where the action is. Like I said, we've had some meetings already, and I should tell you this, the state people are moving out on this. There's going to be an information campaign launching in the very near future. There'll be a state website. They've got a draft logo out there, and they're looking at things like special roadside markers, traveling exhibits, public art, instructional materials pushed out into the schools. They're talking about a passport program where visitors to Alaska would get a passport and they would go around to different places that are official stopping points. And, you know, you get the stamp on it. That works almost every time it's tried. The kids love it. But the big thing is a calendar of events. And like I said, they are inviting America to come to Colorado in 2026. And that's where it starts getting more interesting, because do we want to be in that calendar of events for Ridgway? I've gone to a number of meetings and I was asking myself, is there anything we can do that's big enough to get people here with all this other stuff going on? And our first meeting was back in November, and I came up with the answer, no. There's nothing we can do around here in Ridgway. And I decided I was gonna cut bait on this whole thing because we're so small and people are going up to the pool and they're going to Telluride, and there's nothing we can do. We're gonna be left behind. But I don't sleep much at night, and about a month ago, I actually said, the answer is right under our nose. And it's right out the door. Number one, Hartwell Park. Hartwell Park, if you haven't thought about it in a while, I think is the central park of the West Slope. It is the best downtown park, bar none, with the possible exception of Grand Junction. Grand Junction's a big park. It's got the big cottonwoods, but it doesn't have the mountain views. So you can argue that. Uray, okay, they got Feline Park. They got the mountains right there, but it's flat. It's got a baseball field on it, and it's going to be torn up for the next couple of years. You might have read it in the Plain Dealer. They got a multi-million-dollar rehab project going. So Hartwell Park is a major asset, and you can see that when we have the rendezvous here in August. Number two, we got the Ranch History Museum right across the street. Okay, and then we've got something else. Over there, you drive by it all the time and don't even notice it, but it's the creamery. And I'll tell you what, that's another part of this, because the idea I came up with that would get us on the map, get us in the ball game, get us in the calendar of events, and get people here all summer long to visit Ridgway a little longer than they would have, is to have a cow parade. I don't know if that means anything to you, but if you're thinking running the bulls in Spain, that's not it. If you're thinking running the cattle down 16th Street in Denver when the Stockman Show is here, that's not it either. Cow parade is billed as the world's largest outdoor art event. It goes back to 1998 when somebody, a guy in Switzerland, fabricated 800 fiberglass life-size cows, turned them over to local artists who then painted them, and they were installed all around the city center and parts beyond, 800 of them, and it drew, in 1998, 1.5 million people to see them. Now Zurich is a tourist town, of course, but that's 1.5 million additional people that came specifically to see them. Now, of course, I'm not saying we're going to get 1 million people here, but I am probably the only person in the state that has actually been to 2 cow parades, because the following year, 1999, Chicago picked up the ball and installed 320 of them in downtown along the Magnificent Mile, the main shopping district, the one you all hear about. And people came from a multi-state area specifically to see those cows. And I was one of them. Lisa, my wife, went, and we wandered around for the entire afternoon. They were even out at O'Hare Airport. I mean, they had them glued to the side of the skyscrapers. They had them down at the water tower. It was a really big deal, and they even put a book out on it. But you know what? I got to go to a second one because, of all places, Anchorage, Alaska had a cow parade. Yeah, but they didn't do cows. Nobody goes to Alaska to see cows, right? But they have a dairy industry up there, believe it or not, but I won't get into that. Well, they did salmon, 3-foot king salmon, which you can catch like 2 blocks from downtown in Ship Creek. And it was a big hit. And you know what? It was such a big hit. A few years later, they did it again with moose. It was called Moose on the Loose. Life-size moose. I don't know how many they had because I'd already moved out of town. But just last year, they did a 3-peat. The Iditarod sled dog race was just held in early March, and they did a similar event with sled dogs. So what does that tell you? They were so happy with it, they did it 3 times. And as I said earlier, this is a worldwide event. This has been around since 1998, and it's been to 80 different venues, 80. And we're talking Auckland, New Zealand, we're talking New York, Brussels, Paris, London, Atlanta. Every time it's tried, it's worked. And you're saying, well, okay, big cities, lots of people, lots of artists, yeah, but we're Ridgway. What can a small town do? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I was reading up on the Cow Parade website. Some towns in New England decided to try this, and just in 2023, they had it in a regional cluster of small towns where you could go around to different locations, and they were able to pull that off. So rubber hits the road. Is this feasible? Is this something you like? Well, of course, you want to know what's it going to cost? And there is a cost, because we have to pay for the fabrication of the fiberglass animals. They have to be shipped here, and there's some licensing issues. But the Cow Parade people have done this over and over, and they have a training manual and yada, yada. So also, we can't buy 800 of them. We can't even buy 100 of them. They have a minimum to get their attention, okay, and that's 17 animals. We need 17 animals, and they cost $3,500 each. Okay, so we're looking at $55,000 to $60,000. How can we get that money? I'm glad you asked. I figure there'd be 3 ways we could theoretically come up with the money. Number 1 would be grants. And of course, that's a little iffy, but here's the thing. We have a year to get the money, because we wouldn't be placing any orders until sometime next year. So we have a lead time, which is to our advantage. The second thing, we would be outreaching to not only businesses, but organizations in town to get them to sponsor a cow. And last but not least, we could also get donations from the general public. We have a whole tourist season coming by here, and we can have collection jars around at bed and breakfast, the hotels, any place people come. We could pass the boot at the Thursday concerts. So there's 3 ways we can get the money.
Edward,
Yes.
can I interrupt and just say, this sounds really interesting and exciting, but I do think we have lots of time to prepare,
Yeah,
and we're not going to make any major
Oh, I know.
decisions tonight.
right.
So it sounds to me like the first thing we should do is try to come up with a committee,
Right.
couple of counselors, couple of you guys, and
Yeah.
because while I like the idea of the cow parade, my first thought is, hey, let's do something Ridgway stuff. Let's come up with our own version. And we don't have to spend $60,000 to do. Maybe we could have real cows.
How about muleys on the march?
I just think I'd like to explore other options.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine. Just so you know, the way this would work is they would be on display the entire summer, which is different than usual single day or single week events. It would run Memorial Day to early October. The cows would be auctioned off and all go away afterwards. So I will give you the handouts, and we can talk it over. Time is somewhat important, and
I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is it absolutely required that it be during the summer? Ridgway gets plenty of tourism during the summer. If you wanted some input from the chamber, they would tell you, I'm sure, that how do we bring people in this
Well,
during the shoulder season?
We can stretch out the time on display.
But we
as
don't,
much as you
we
want.
don't actually need more people in town in June, July, and August.
That's true.
So I think if you want to have community support on this, more people in restaurant seats in November would sound really great. So I just put it on your radar if you want, if
I'm
you
just
think
thinking-
about
I was
reactions.
just thinking about all the people going back to school and all, and.
And I'm just thinking about all the people in the community and thinking about how this might play.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll give you the handouts. John can get a hold of me or whatever, and we'll hope we can make something big happen in 2 years, but we'll have to get started soon, no matter what it is, just because of all the logistics. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like the idea that John brought up about establishing a committee, that would take ideas like Beth had and other ideas, and try to, bring them to fruition.
Yeah.
By the way, I graduated in the bicentennial year, and I spent that bicentennial on the DC Mall. I graduated from a high school in Rockville, Maryland, which was right near DC. So it was a pretty special time for me. Of course, I'm old enough to remember that, like he said.
I graduated in 76 too.
Yeah, it's a great year.
I went to the cows, I saw the cows in Chicago when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah,
So you actually went to that one?
I remember that, they were very cool.
98.
Did Jackson Hole that had the fiberglass painted mooses? Other towns like that?
Yeah, we could do marmots.
Or what about mule deer? We have them all
Very
over.
good, like plaster cast them from like an actual marmot.
Tammy Granson, the artist, she does that. She casts
Yeah, those
marmots.
pink ones,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Those are so fun.
I think we have all sorts of cool ideas.
Yeah.
We could get John to do the ducks.
Get
Like
what?
the hood ornaments. Not you, John.
John. Oh, John Billings,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
Those ducks.
Yeah, the convoy.
Convoy duck.
Thank you.
All sorts of ideas.
Really
Okay,
good.
thanks, Edward.
It's not.
Does anybody have any questions for Edward, either in the audience or on Zoom or?
Idea.
Okay, we will move on to item number 8, which is the National Donate Life Month proclamation. Jesse?
I just wanted to say a quick thank you to you all for doing this proclamation and having me here tonight. I'm the executive director of the Chris Kluge Foundation, and we are a really small team of 2. We're located in Aspen, but we work nationally. And so any opportunity to get in front of people is really special to us. And it was a great drive over to come see you guys today. And you'll read some of the statistics in the proclamation, but I just wanted to point out how important the work we do is, because while 95% of Americans say they support organ donation, only 48% are currently registering. And our populations are increasing and that registration rate is actually decreasing. And so we do a lot of awareness, advocacy, and education. And we, like I said, just appreciate a chance to get in front of people to share that, especially in our home state. Colorado is second in line for the highest registry. We were first, and so we need to do some work to get back on top.
Get back to the first.
And I encourage everybody this National Donate Life Month to talk to their friends and family, know what their decisions are, share your own. And if you're unsure or have questions, feel free to reach out to us or any other organization out there that works with this.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. It's a really important thing.
Can I say one quick thing?
Yeah,
Personally, this last summer, my aunt had a surprise fall. She was in her 50s. She stepped out of her pool, fell back and hit her head on the ground. She was completely brain dead within a couple of hours. And she was able to save countless lives because she donated all of her organs, her eyes, everything. And that it's so special to know that she's still here because of this.
it's a great example. Thank you for sharing that.
Chills.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions for Jesse or about the proclamation? I don't think I need to read the whole thing. There's all sorts of statistics in here, but it is just mainly the idea that organ donation is really important in terms of saving lives. Because the challenge in getting transplants and things is, if I have a cold, is really, really huge. So organ donation is a big part of that. So I know I will continue to urge my friends and family to sign up. I know I'm on the driver's license, so urge you all to do the same. Thanks again, Jesse.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to item number 9.
Actually, Mayor, you can
Oh, wait,
make a
we need-
motion to vote.
Oh, we need a motion for that. Sorry. Go
I
ahead.
move to proclaim April 2024 as National Donate Life Month.
Second.
All right, motion by Beth, seconded by Polly. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Grambly,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Bacon,
Aye.
Schuyler,
Aye.
Grambly. Oh, did I already say that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I went out of order. Scoville,
Aye.
Meyer, did I get you all today?
Yes, you did. In the end, you did. Passes unanimously. Thanks, everybody. So that takes us to item 9, request to close Hyde Street between Elizabeth and the alley on May 11th from 12 to 8 for a private party. Sarah and Tom. Hi, neighbors.
Hey. What's happening, neighbors? Yeah, so on Saturday, May 11th, we're requesting to close Hyde Street from Elizabeth Street to just before the alley. We're throwing our daughter's 5th birthday party and we're inviting a lot of friends, a lot of family.
The block.
And the block, about half of the block is gonna be showing up, basically anybody within 2 blocks. And we're expecting a lot of kids, and even though it's not a very high traffic street. We would just like to not have cars driving by while we got, 25 kids in the yard and 50 adults hanging out. And it would be nice to have a little more room. That's kind of what we're asking for, and I don't know if you guys have questions on, I know we gave Preston a sheet of exactly where that at, but the only person who is affected by the road closure would, well, other than, cars driving by, but they can easily detour over to Moffett Street, 1 block over to get up. Our neighbor Jamie Coulter is also invited to the party, and he's the only one whose driveway would be blocked besides ours.
And he's given the A-OK, so.
Yeah.
A very creative drawing, I must say.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I was wondering if everybody's seen there or not.
Very well
You did a
done.
really good job.
Yes, we all have it.
A beautiful map.
Like this.
Yeah, it was very
Mul-
bad.
Multicolor, no less.
3D.
I know.
Um,
And full disclosure, for those who don't know, this is my brother and sister-in-law. I don't believe I need to recuse myself from it since there's no financial gain in this decision, but small town, there is that.
She's also invited to the party.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Josie. I'll start out by saying this is I'm sure Preston told you, this is a really unique ask. I don't know that we've ever had somebody ask to close the street for a neighborhood party and make it private. I think because it's a public street, what I'd like to ask is if you'd be willing to make it open,
Yes,
that if somebody wants to come, you're not gonna,
I'd be willing to make it open to, the street can be open. People are allowed to come to that, but my yard and my house
yeah,
and my driveway, that's still private.
right, that makes sense.
Yeah,
But I do think that gets to the weirdness of it,
Well,
right? It's like, I get it.
yeah, often
But-
living in Ridgway, we know. I mean, not just even the 2 blocks around us, multiple people further blocks,
Yeah.
you're 3 blocks down,
Right.
If anyone shows up, we've talked about this, it's fine, like
yeah,
you said.
and we're not
clearly
gonna be
let's-
advertising it,
Yeah.
That's
inviting the
not-
people
Yeah.
we're inviting.
Yeah.
And yes, we're not gonna like stop somebody from walking through.
Join
Yeah.
or
music.
joining
If
music
someone's,
or
yeah,
anything
exactly.
Like that.
We're totally,
Yeah, so like the street absolutely could still be like public, if you wanna come in, that's fine. I don't know who's gonna hear about it, other than our friends and family, it's not, this isn't Denver, I'm not exactly worried about some, stranger, walker-bys and strangers, anybody. So that's where we could do that, where the street is still a public, you can walk in, enjoy the music, sit down and all of that, but my yard and house and all of that would still be private,
Yeah, of course.
so.
Yeah, I just think in terms of setting a precedent, I think that's the way we kind of have to do it.
Okay.
And I don't, we're not asking you to advertise or anything, so the deal.
Yes,
I'm guessing
exactly,
only-
that's why it's not
Only
really.
people that are
Find
gonna
your
come
own
by,
party.
it's just,
Yeah,
play your music over there. Let's
Yeah.
check it out.
yeah, which is probably, and we're probably gonna know if
Yeah.
they do swing by,
Yeah.
If
so.
I show up, you'll let me in.
yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
So, yeah, but it would be, and then also, like I said, the main thing is like, it's nicer for the space, but it's really safety
It's
for,
safer,
there's so many kids and.
Yeah.
It would be nice, and like I said, Jamie's the only person who's really affected, he's invited to the party with his daughter as well, so.
Yeah, from my experience, you probably need to be prepared for, depending on how loud the music is, that, you might need to
Yeah,
make sure you cut that off by 9 o'clock or something.
yeah.
Yeah, I think what is it, 1 to 8, is
Right, gotcha.
that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
12 to 8 was our request.
or 12 to 8, yeah. Yeah, which is, yeah, and it wouldn't go any later than that.
Okay. Any other questions for these guys?
Just in light of like you guys not wanting to have people in your house and all that stuff, which like totally understand, that's your private space.
Yeah.
Would you provide like a restroom for people coming by? Just
Are you
curious.
gonna get a porta potty by chance or anything like that?
Planning on it,
Wasn't
but
planning.
actually,
Yeah,
now that you say it,
yeah.
Might be a good idea.
that might actually be a good idea with that many people.
Yeah, so no, not everybody's like going.
Even for the invited guests.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
I hadn't actually thought about that. Actually, yes, I will get a porta potty. That's a great idea. Good point. That's a
That
lot.
way, that way they don't have to go to Jamie's house.
Actually, yes, so yes, there will be a porta potty.
That makes good sense.
The things.
That's a good precedent too to set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that makes it a little bit more. It's not open, it's not advertised, but it is much more public that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can enjoy the music.
Yeah.
use the bathroom. I mean.
yeah, because I definitely understand the precedent thing of
Yeah.
a private event for a
Yeah.
public stream, so.
Great, okay. Anybody in the audience or on Zoom have questions for these guys? All right, somebody want to make a motion?
I move to approve the application for use of park facilities and right of way for the party on 975 Hyde Street on May 11th.
Second,
Wait, is this including the addition of there will be a porta potty now?
Sure.
Sure,
And
I'll get it.
public access.
And public access.
And public access on the street.
Okay, I think I heard a second online. Was that Kevin?
that was me, second with the porta potty.
Second for the porta potty.
That's Kevin.
Motion made by Russ, second by Kevin. Roll call, vote please.
Counselor Scrambley,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Lakin, Skylar,
Aye.
Scoville,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
See you at the party.
I'm coming now.
Who said you were invited?
All right, that takes us to item number 10, presentation of the gravel adventure guide. Tanya? I'm really excited for this one too.
Me too.
Hello,
Cool.
I have a PDF or slideshow to go along with this, but I'll give an introduction as that's going up. So I'm here representing the Ridgway Area Chamber of Commerce and talking about the gravel adventure field guide that we're producing that will be out soon. This guide, I read about a similar guide in another part of the state in 2002, and I asked Ashley, who is the executive director, and she's here in the audience, if she would be interested in that, and she said, well, let's check with the biking community. And we did. We got together the bike shop owners and different bike people in the community, and they were very interested in it. We decided to make it regional rather than only Ridgway because we just thought it was a great cooperative opportunity. We also thought our grant application would be stronger that way. Also, Tim from West End actually did the grant application for us. So go for having collaboration and people pulling their weight. So we did that in December 2022. We found out last spring that we got the grant, $34,500 to produce it. It's a fairly inexpensive, I think, project, although for a guide, you know, that is a bit of money. So we're glad that it was funded rather than us putting out the cash, although it's a grant that you get reimbursed. So we've been putting out the cash and getting it back. We officially started it November 1st of last year because that's when we got our purchase order. And right now we're in the purchase stages. It will be released April 26th. And Tim has continued to help us from the West End in a great way. We hired contractors from Pueblo. They are the ones who've done these field guides in several places around Colorado and the US, and now even starting internationally. So they were good people to work with for it. And locally, like I said, our bike shops, Nate and Andy were very helpful with it. Jim Clark, who's an avid bike rider, was really helpful with the design and well, not the design, but with the routes and a lot of the editing and ideas as well. And it's funded by the State Office of Economic Development and International Trade and the Office of, underneath that, the Office of Outdoor Recreation. So we're finally here and it's exciting. This is the cover of the guide and it's San Juan Mountains on Compagre Plateau. Go to the next. And then there's a note page for people who want to take notes. This is a pocket-sized guide. It's fairly small, but it's 68 pages. Then the next page is just another cover. And then we have an introduction about us, and we have interesting photos throughout. We have climate for both the West End and Ridgway, because obviously we're quite different climates. That's the first time they've had to do that, this particular company. So we broke ground with having two different areas like that so close to each other. And then on the right side, you can see there are full page ads. The ads supported the production of it, but we didn't actually make the income. The guide company, production company, use that also to help with their expenses. They did quite a lot of work coming here a couple times to do the research on the guides and calling us, at least twice a month to talk about what needed to go into it. And they'll be here for the launch party too. And this is a map that's in the guide, and you can see the different locations throughout it. Those orange are the actual routes, which will be more specific later on. We can go on to the next. This is just a sampling of the pages. Like I said, it's 68 pages. I just wanted to show you some of the stuff. There, once again, is more another welcome and the old galloping goose, which is great. Yep, you can.
I'm sorry,
go back.
really quick, on the routes page,
Uh-huh.
it said orange was gravel route and black was major road, but 62 from basically Dallas to Ridgway is orange. Is there a gravel route along the highway, or would they be road biking on highway there?
Yeah, there are.
When she gets to the individual routes, it's clear.
Yeah.
Just because I just was reading this, or I had it,
Right.
and it was like, oh, that's
This is
interesting.
gravel grinding guide. So people who like doing gravel biking. And so more than half of each route, and in some cases the whole route, are on country roads and gravel trails that are wide. Some of the routes are on a little bit more of trails, and parts of the routes are on highways to get from one good place to another.
It just looked like 62
You're
considered
correct.
gravel, and that was
In
confusing.
fact, I mean, one of the routes, which I was actually a little bit skeptical of at first, is on Red Mountain Pass. But then I heard from the local biking community that they actually do that already. And I was like, oh, okay, I just haven't really seen you out there. But apparently some people do it at least 6 times, in a season.
My husband has been up there like 4 times this year so far.
Yeah.
See? Greatly.
Or-
Sorry, continue. I just curious
Yeah,
about that.
no, good question, very good. You can move to the next page. So then that's kind of a lowdown of the routes. There's, I think maybe a half of the routes are probably including from Ridgway to either UA or to Montrose or to up the pass. And then some of them are on the West End. And there's only 1 or 2 that are only Montrose. Montrose didn't collaborate a lot on this, but it's just such a great place to get to from here, as long as we start here as a base, that we included that. So move on to the next page. Here's an example of a route, Ranches and Rafters, and actually this is, so it's on that side of the Highway 550 on those country, and then loops back around by the reservoir. And each one of the pages has this information, the distance, the elevation, whether it's paved or unpaved. See, that one is 63% unpaved, 37% paved. There's GPS with all of these, so people can actually pull them up on their GPS and get like turn by turn information and mapping. It's not as, yeah, so much, but people need to be careful, and they need to download those GPS routes before they get on the route. This one in particular, they'd probably be able to see it the whole route, but a lot of our routes, once you get on it, you're not going to have access to the cell service or the GPS. So, so those QR codes are really handy that way. And they show the elevation there and a little bit of a story for each one. There's another one. This one's out on the West End. Sounds really cool. Weird part about that one is that you probably have to carry your bike up a sand stretch for a while. So that's exciting. but all of the really intense bikers really like this route. So it got included. Moving on, Jackson Spurs. That's on this side of Ridgway from the highway. And that's a really cool route that Jim created for us. And
That's the one that's got a lot of Highway 62 on it.
yeah, on that side, but still, let's see, 60/40 in that case. Yeah.
And just so everybody knows, if you are a biker and you use a different app for tracking your rides, you can go to Ride with GPS, and there's a send to device link where you can send it as a fit file and send it to any other app that you like to use.
Yeah, maybe you can come to our party on the 26th and explain that to people who don't really understand how to do it. That'd be great. And you can keep moving. Silver Train, and Silver Train is one of our easiest routes. Somewhere on here, it says like what the difficulty, it might be in the actual text of the route, but all the routes do say somewhere on the page, like whether they're difficult or whether you should be more of an advanced rider for it. And this one's, one of the easier ones that, it has a gradual climb when you get going to Uray, and on the way back, it's a real nice, easy slope.
All right, thanks. Hey, that was great.
Good meeting.
Sorry.
Thank you.
After the new trip, we actually, Jim talked to Regina Lopez White Skunk as well as CJ Bradford from the Ute Museum, because we wanted to name at least one, if not more, of the routes with a Ute name, since they were going all over this place on their own trails and paths. And they wanted us to use the word Nuchu, which is their traditional name for Ute. And so that became the name of this route, and that was pretty cool. And San Juan Heart of Gold is that one that includes the $1 million highway. And that one's 69% off there. And it goes by like County Road 31 by the Yankee Girlfriend and all that area as well. It's a really cool but difficult route for those people. Good for early in the morning.
Heck of a ride.
Yeah.
Way more hardcore than I am.
Yeah, exactly. Really ambitious. And so this is a good page I wanted to show you, because we do talk about rules of the road, responsibility, tips to be safe. We say, if you're gonna do this, you should know how to change your own tire and know that you'll be out of cell service. So tell people, that you're gonna be out and such. There's, so just a bunch of ideas to make people safer, including wave to people you see on your ride. I was trying to get them to switch that with e-bikers beware, because people with e-bikes, a lot of them are newer and they need to just know that they're more of a novice rider. He liked the wave to people because to be friendly in the community, and we're leaving it to the bike shops and people who rent e-bikes to actually educate their customers on how to handle the e-bikes. And then we did a astrotourism, so we got that in there, which was cool for our area. West End is actually another big, dark sky area, so it was good to collaborate on that. There was other parts, like I said, that we didn't. There's a whole page or two on the Arts and Creative District. There's information about ranches, not specific ones, but that ranches are in our area, so it covers quite a lot in here. And then these are the ads that people bought besides the the full pages. And so from each of our communities, different businesses stepped up to support the guide, which is really wonderful of them, and put ads in here as well. And then here's our final one. This is not in the guide. This is what's happening to celebrate the launch of the guide. And on that day will be the first day we actually have the printed guides in town, April 26th, which is a Friday. And we're going to have a free party from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Colorado Boy Brewery Depot. Free meaning free music. We have Doug and Heather who will be playing. The first 50 people or 40 to 50 people will get a free beer. But other than that, people can buy their own beers and buy food if they want to buy it. We're ending early so that people can head on over to the Sherbino for their comedy show. They can head on over to the film show at the Decker Room. It's just a couple hours just to hand out a free guide to each person who wants a guide. We're getting 9,000 copies of the guide. 4,000 are staying with the producers of it, and they will sell them slowly from their website. 4,000 are going to our visitor center, and we can hand them out as we like to either businesses or individuals. And 1,000 are going to the advertisers to hand out in their stores and businesses. And then that night we'll hand them out. And then Saturday and Sunday, some rides. So people bring their own bikes or rent a bike from one of our local stores and meet up at times that are on that website, at that QR code. And then you'll get to ride with friends or new friends. And it's just a casual way to check out the new routes. And the 27th is in our area in Montrose. Well, going from Ridgway to Montrose and back, and Ridgway to Uray and back. And the 28th is West End. So if you want to try out that as well.
Very cool. Thanks,
Very cool.
Tanya. Nice work.
That's a good looking guide.
And Ash, thanks for all your work on this too.
Oh, thank you very much. It's very exciting.
Yeah, kudos to everybody on the chamber. This is a really cool guide. This is awesome.
Yeah, I hope we can do something kind of similar for other types of recreation
Activities,
in the future. It's fun, but the OED doesn't have any more of these grants, so we'll have to figure out how to be creative about it.
So
The word is out. I learned about this at the Trek Bicycle Shop in Montrose.
did anybody have any questions? Either up here or in the audience? Come join us on the 26th and 27th. Right. Takes us to item number 11, presentation of Cimarron Athletic Field Project. Susan and team.
My name's Susan.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's good to see all you guys. Do you guys ever watch Parks and Rec?
My daughter's tried to get me to watch it. I hated it.
Oh my God. Tommy and Sarah's request reminded me like a Parks.
That was
like.
that was we've never done.
But no one started yelling, so it's all right. So yeah, Preston has a slideshow that we created. I don't know, are you guys all aware of this project? It's been in the paper. Okay.
Is anybody not aware? I think we're all aware.
So yeah, I started with a small conversation between our principal, Russell Randolph, and I a couple of years ago. After we couldn't play soccer games on our high school field anymore. There's numerous irrigation issues. COVID didn't help, and the grass is just kind of went away. It's grown back clumpy, and you kick a ball, it bounces all over the place, and it's just not a playable surface anymore. So over the last 6 or almost, I guess a year now is when Amber first came to us, asking like, hey, I heard you guys were thinking about doing a turf field. And we do some track things, and from there, the project has continued to grow. I'm gonna go to the next slide again. Where we are proposing to build a turf soccer field with an 8-lane track around it. Yeah, go back one. Let's go next slide.
I love technology.
Might be scrolling down, actually, not over.
It's probably what it was.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, it's been unplayable since 2020. Ironically enough, the last time it was playable, we won a state championship. It's a direct correlation there. 40% of our middle school and high school students play soccer. That number is probably larger in elementary with the Erie County Soccer Club. This is a county-wide sport. Usually we have 1 or 2 Erie kids on the team. We're hoping that starts expanding more. Like I said, we haven't played a game there since 2020. Years ago, when they were putting in the high-speed internet, the water line got hit, it sucked in all silt and stuff into our irrigation system, and since then it hasn't been the same. And we also switched to ditch water instead of city water, and then that's just, we don't have the right sprinkler system to process that. And then so yeah, since then our teams have been playing over at the Ridgway Athletic Park, and it gets busy. We got a doubleheader there with Ignacio in a couple of weeks, and Lisa Gardner for their middle school team. They're going to play before us, then we play, and then they play, and then we play again. It's just like very tight. And so being able to kind of spread that out, have the high school kids be at the high school, and then the youth kids be at the club, would be great. Yeah, and we need a track as well. We've had very successful track teams over the last 5 or 6 years. Last year was like looking at like, we probably could have won state championships in numerous races and relays. And we had 4 or 5 kids go down with injuries, and we can't help but think that like running on concrete all the time like doesn't add to that. And so, yeah, we've had to get very creative with how we run track practice. This girl here, you can't see the rest of the picture, but there's a high jump mat, and you got her 2 friends are holding a jump rope for her to practice the high jump because we don't have a facility for that. I know Uray has a the long jump pit. We're gonna go there once a week for practice, for the middle school. And the high school usually practices in Ridgway just because it's a little more spacious. Yeah, we combined with Uray and Silverton for track, so this project doesn't just serve Ridgway, but the entire county and even over to Silverton.
Do you have an estimate of how many students are involved in track in three counties?
We got 25 Ridgway kids this year on the middle school team, 7 or 8 on the high school team. And then those numbers I would say are a little less than that from Uray and Silverton.
Uray and Silverton both see fairly wide fluctuations just
Yeah.
because of our size. Like a couple years ago, I think of the class of 2022, like there were tons of kids who did track in my class. And so it
It
just,
just varies a lot. That's
And then I think last year in cross country, the high school team was down to like 4 or 5 kids.
Yeah.
The year before it was 17.
Yeah.
It does fluctuate a lot.
makes sense.
And last year, like we had a strong high school team, but like I said, the injuries added up. So yeah, we don't have a safe practice place. Peter here sets up hurdles in our hallways, for kids to practice hurdles, because carpet is slightly softer, concrete. The grass just isn't a good jumping surface at our school anymore. Our high school kids drive it to Olathe once a week to use their track, which is like never. We don't always like kids going on the road and traveling and over an hour to go to practice and getting home at 8:30. There's not a publicly available track within 5 counties where anyone can just go and use. They're all private. We worked out with Olathe to be able to use their track once a week. Yeah, so this is kind of the map of it. We've been working with Delmont Engineering out of Montrose. We've gone through like 12 different drawings at this point, probably. This is kind of like the final version that they're going to start engineering plans for. So yeah, over here. This is originally where our soccer field is. So the original idea was we could put a turf field on top of that without a lot of excavation work. But as we start expanding the ideas and seeing what else we could do there, we had to shift the entire field over probably 50 yards to accommodate more of our property space, which allows us to put the track in as well. We have a detention pond on the northeast corner of the field too, which I'll talk about here in a few minutes when we talk about some of the environmental concerns. But this would be an awesome complex. We want to do it right. We think whenever the soccer field was initially put in, it was not done right. Now we can't use it anymore. That's one thing that I'm very cautious of. Like, let's put the time and money forward to do this where it lasts for 20, 25, 30 years and not 10. Yeah, as I mentioned, like this isn't just a Ridgway thing. It's not just a Ridgway secondary school thing. It's for the entire community. It is for Uray. It is for Silverton, since we serve those communities as well. This will be open to the public after school hours, like a lot of tracks are. People can go and use it. They can exercise. We want to put in a playground for kids to go play on. And yeah, it's going to serve a lot of people. Our students can use it during the day more. It is being the athletic director here and like having to cancel soccer games every single spring is my least favorite part of my job. Last year we had a game with Cortez and it was like 40, 45 degrees outside. Cortez probably left at like 1 o'clock to get here. By the time they got here, there was 9 inches of snow on our field. Then they had to go sleep in Montrose without an overnight bag. They didn't have toothbrushes. And then we had to go play in Montrose the next night. It was just, it happens every year, 2 or 3 times a year. And having a turf field, they melt quickly, plow them. Around here, we think we'd probably have to plow it once a year. And then once the sun hits it every day, it would be able to stay warm enough to melt with any spring weather. And home field advantage. It's always a bummer when the bell rings, we're out of school, and we have a home game, and like, even though it's only less than a mile away, the amount of kids that don't show up because they get distracted over that mile happens. And
Kids distracted?
no. And I know there's times when we'll have a soccer game at 2 or 3 o'clock or something like that because the other team is traveling far. We want to give them time to get back, and there's been times where we're like, hey, you know what, like, teachers, if you want to take your kids outside for the last hour of the day and watch the soccer team, like, that's a great thing, especially for the younger kids to watch the high school kids play, I think is super important. Yeah, as I mentioned that, open to the public outside of school. And a recreational space for anybody, whether it's kids who want to play, if it's people who are training for a race, if it's people who just want to walk on a nice, soft surface. Or when it's wet and muddy out, you still have a place to go on a track. Yeah, we've reached out to the Telluride and Norwood school districts as well. They're in the same boat as us, where they don't have a track to practice on. So allowing them to come and practice on our facilities would be great. So that's over 13,000 people between those 5 communities that we could help out.
When other schools allow that, like when our kids go to Olathe or Telluride came to Ridgway, is there like a rental fee for the field, or is it just like a goodwill thing?
Usually there's a fee that you pay to use it. That would help us with maintenance costs.
Right, that's what I was wondering. If it's benefiting the larger area, how would it help the school maintain?
We would want to benefit from it. Yeah, and then eventually hosting track meets here, right, brings in hundreds and thousands of people that local restaurants could benefit from, and their track events are special. They take a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of organization to put on. And it's a really great time for kids from other communities to interact. There's lots of downtime in between races, and it's really cool. And then hosting soccer tournaments here, where we could have games going on at Solar Ranches, and the games that the high school would be huge. It's usually only have 1 or 2 games a day, and then there's just not enough room. Cost is high, as all things are in life. But we do think it's very feasible. Right now, we're looking at around $3 million for the total completion of the project. About $1 million goes towards excavation, bleachers, fencing, paths, playground, having shaded seating, making it accessible for everybody to reach. And about another $1 million would be for the soccer field itself, getting the proper drainage, getting the turf, the pad, and everything like that. And then another $1 million to pour the concrete for the track and put on the synthetic surface for that. Right now, we have about 30% of it pledged between different agencies and grants we reach out to. Peter and Leslie here have been huge in writing grants for us and being extremely organized. And then Ms. Lacey and Mr. Randolph, seeing what available funds we have from the school. So yeah, part of our recent bond was for a new roof, field improvements, and then our theater productions and the cafeterias. That money was set aside. We had more money than we thought that could go to the soccer field, plus some of our other foundations. Like I said, we got to around 30% already. We've reached out to the senator's office. There's a congressionally directed spending thing that we can do. We've reached out for $2 million to that. DOLA has told us or encouraged us to apply for $1 million grant this summer. And then we've kind of hit the smaller donations and stuff like that as well. And we're still hoping for large private donors. We don't want this coming out of the town's budget. We don't want this coming out of people's pockets and raising money like a little bit at a time. We want to hit some of these bigger foundations and get some large private donors, which we're constantly working with and constantly hoping we get big. So yeah, we our owners rep at the school has kind of set the date of October 2024 for fundraising. And then kind of after we have that fundraising or we get that money, we know what we're pledged, then that'll kind of dictate how we move forward and what we can do. So we would like to start construction next spring at this time, and like the first home soccer game August 2025, which should be our first home game in 5 years. think ever since I've been AD, we've not had a soccer game, I'm sad. Realistically, we said we can break it into 2 phases. The first phase would be to do all the excavation, put the turf field down, and then have the infrastructure in place and just have a dirt track for the time being. If we don't reach that $3 million by October, and then we could go back, get the other $1 million, and put the track into the second phase, maybe 2 or 3 years afterwards. Yeah, so one benefit we think is like this kind of adds like 3 sections to the town. You have River Park, then you have the downtown section, then Solar Ranches. And right now, Solar Ranches, and the athletic park there is like going under some big changes. And we really want to complement what's going on in Ridgway Athletic Park and not take away from it. We want to have our separate grants. We want to raise our own money. And we want to use it to share. Like I said earlier, if we're hosting soccer tournaments, we can have teams spread out in both locations. And I think that's one thing we've been wary of is we don't want the town to look at it as like we're trying to take away or slow down the progress of the Ridgway Athletic Park, but to add to it and do something ourselves that will complement what the town is trying to do. And so yeah, adding another playground for all the families in River Park out there every day. And there's always people walking on the trails, and it turns into a dog park as well on the weekends. And so a lot of people are using it, and I think it would be used even more if we had this nice facility, if we had stuff for kids to use as well.
What's not on that slide is the Green Street Park. It's in process with the have been partnering with that. Connections with the environmental.
Yeah. And like I said, yeah, around here, we're always in a drought, it seems like. And the dry climate is not always great for growing grass and our irrigation issues. We think going with the synthetic turf is our best option for long-term use. We don't have a huge maintenance staff anymore. And so doing something that is a little more hands-off for us would be very beneficial for the school. So turf it's more durable. It's easier to maintain. We don't have to put pesticides on it or herbicides. We don't have to irrigate it. And logistically, yeah, not having to cancel games because of snowstorms and stuff like that would be hugely beneficial. And I think turf has, over the last 10 or 15, 20 years, has gotten a bad rep in a lot of ways. We can go to the next one. But I think over the last 10 years, the technology has totally changed. So as a kid, I remember watching like St. Louis Rams football games, and they were the greatest show on turf. And like Isaac Bruce's arms are always like cut off from like the crappy AstroTurf they had. And nowadays, like playing on turf, like all of our players love it. The ball rolls, it's predictable, it's soft underneath. So yeah, to make it, to improve from the 1980 AstroTurf, there's usually infills you put in there. Historically, it's been chrome rubber. And we're starting, a lot of places are actually getting away from that because dumping a bunch of rubber in our backyard is not always everyone's favorite idea. Recently, there's this thing called Rockfill, which is like crushed up like pine and stuff like that. And there's other people that use cork and other types of reusable infills, so it's not damaging the environment and still providing a soft surface for our kids to prevent injuries. And a lot of times nowadays as well, there's these rubber pads underneath it that's not exposed to the environment, kind of like a shock pad. So it's easier on athletes' knees and ankles and stuff like that. And like I said, the technology has changed. The environmental issues that have been raised have been very valid over the last 10 years. But turf companies are also realizing that. They realize the products that they were putting out haven't always been the best. And with the PFAS forever chemicals, it's like, how can we get away from that? And so a few different options. One, PFAS, the forever chemicals are in almost everything, I feel like nowadays in our worlds. The turf companies have started making turf fields without these forever chemicals. And like I said, without the rubber crumb fill that used to be used, we feel like we can do this in an environmentally safe way. There was also that detention pond I pointed out, and a lot of fields are now requiring. So all the drainage from your field goes through those detention ponds to stop any what has been the rubber crumb fill from leaking into the watershed around here. I missed anything with this one? So yeah, I think kind of what we're asking is for a letter of support. We want the community to support this. We want the community to look at this as this is something we're adding to the community, not taking away from or competing with the Ridgway Athletic Park. And yeah, after meeting with John and Preston numerous times about this and kind of gauging support, yeah, we hope that you guys could sign a letter of support, that you would show us that support with some type of financial donation. So a lot of the grants we are applying for, like they need that letter of support to show that we're not going to do something that the community is going to hate. So what do you guys think? Questions?
We've got 2 students here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, don't forget.
What do you guys think about this project? Or if you guys got questions for them, let me know.
Do you guys want to address this, or do you want to just take questions?
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
Stand up if you want. Come on.
Come
on up, sir.
They've been enjoying the whole town council.
Yeah, no, they're kind of cool. So you're gonna apply for the Ridgway Youth Advisory Council next year?
He's gonna run for mayor at 18.
They're both on our school board right now. You can't see them.
As Rao was saying, like a lot of this ties back to school spirit. It's really hard to get kids to go to soccer games and track meets when everything is so far away and we don't have that home advantage. It's really easy, especially when games are after school, to just stay at school and be there instead of having to figure out how to get there, whether kids live up in Log Hill and there's games on the weekends or something. And just the kids have been wanting this for so long. Like Henry and I are both in student council, and something that like our peers have been talking about is having a home advantage and having a track and a soccer field to be able to support our student athletes.
Yeah, totally. And it goes with the school spirit, and it also goes with, we said earlier how the numbers would always fluctuate between the years with our sports and stuff like that. Like you were talking about, we had 17, then like 4, then like 8. You know, being an athlete myself and playing, I play basketball for Ridgway. I don't play soccer, do track, but I know
Not this year.
Yeah, maybe. But what I know is that that's what drew me into playing basketball, is like the facilities and the new court we got in Ridgway. And I know that it's really hard to have a team when you have such little numbers. And if we had a facility like this that had the track and the nice AstroTurf, then I am positive so many more people would venture into athletics and stuff like that, which would also be super helpful for our team and school spirit. So, yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Anybody have questions for these guys?
We've got a couple of runners too that would agree with you.
So yeah, it'd be very nice.
Yes.
Love it.
Right. Anybody on council have questions for any of these guys?
It sounds like you put a lot of thought into the turf field, but you did mention wanting to build something that we were gonna be psyched to have in 20 or 30 years. And there are always those trade-offs, and it sounds like you put a lot of thought and effort into it, but I just like continuing to emphasize that we're gonna have a track that when we think about it in, or a field, the track is the track, like those are those surfaces, but when we think about the soccer field in 20 years, we're not gonna be like, did we blow off the concerns about turf?
Yeah,
And it's the trade-off with watering, and I get it, and it's just, it's. Yeah,
I
it's
think
complicated.
it is a trade-off.
Yeah.
I think whatever infill we go with, or if we go with no forever chemicals in our turf, I think it's an easy question of like, because in order to have a good playing surface, you have to water it, you have to put herbicides on it, fertilizer, good to grow. And I think those are way more easy to travel into the watershed than something that is solid.
I think what my AP environmental students would tell you is there are no easy answers. And
No,
when I say
there's
it's
not.
Easy, that's the flippant answer, because they've looked at me multiple times. There's no good answer. So I think that's kind of just the, like, continuing to process that and making sure everyone realizes that the level of effort that I'm seeing in your presentation tonight continues to be heard.
Yeah, and Tanya wrote us a letter with the Uncompahgre watershed last week too, that made us like address these issues and really like dive further into research. And we've talked to Steamboat Springs about their project that they've done. And we're talking to another person who built the turf fields in Eagle Valley and stuff like that, which are closer to the river there. And so, yeah, it is that what are the positive trade-offs? And I think we can debate that for a long time, but we can also tell people to quit driving on Highway 550 and quit putting magnesium chloride on our county roads. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just, there was more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did look into this like deep dive in the past week or so. And I feel like the turf companies know that they have a bad reputation and people don't like synthetic turf. And what struck me was how much they're innovating. Actually, the biggest company in the world is a Dutch company called Tenkate, and they're the ones who do most of the fields in America as well as in Europe, and they're highly environmentally conscious, like a lot of companies in Europe. So I talked to the Denver school district. He's the facilities planners guy named Josh Griesbach, and he said we have 20 soccer fields that we have to manage in the Denver area. And he said in the last 4 years we've started, and he said it was very trial and error, and they used other products that didn't work well. And they've started using this product called Brockville that he said it's basically made from sustainable pine trees chopped into tiny bits, and it's basically just pine. But then they put a pad under it in order to make it safe for athletes. And then at the end of its life, and he said it has actually much longer life than rubber infill. He said it's probably going to last about 16 years compared to 8 for the rubber. And he said at the end of its life, it just is composted. So it just becomes wood chips. So it kind of removes that whole thing when we think about a synthetic turf in a sense of rubber and bits of pieces coming off in your cleats and everything like that. He thought probably in 10 or 15 years, like rubber will not be part of the picture anymore. And so the other issue is the grass itself, the synthetic grass itself. And so, you know, the main concern with that has been the PFAS, the forever chemicals, and whether that's leaching into the groundwater. And that slide with way too many words on it was showing that there's actually thousands of different chemicals that are grouped under PFAS. And some of them are water soluble, and those are the horrible things we heard of, like Teflon and, you know, firefighting foams and things like that. And that's stuff that's getting into the groundwater and into our bodies. And the stuff that's used in synthetic turf is actually very stable. It's a type of PFAS called polymers that does not break down, that does not get into the water supply, and that is actually used in things like sutures and joint replacements. Like that's how safe it is. They use it in human bodies and surgeries. So synthetic turf actually has very, very little of that to begin with, but it's sort of been grouped in this very scary category that's really large and really diverse. But because the turf companies know that most people don't know this level of detail in chemistry, they're just saying we're going to produce this product that's PFAS free. And that's what we're hoping to use. And basically that's the way the field is moving as well. I talked to a toxicologist in Boston who works with a lot of school districts. She said if any of you or anyone is concerned and wants to talk to her, she's happy to talk to people because that's what she does, because she sees a lot of innovations in this field. And she thinks the concerns, definitely, we want to hear all the concerns so we can research them, but she thinks this particular concern is not something that should be pinned on synthetic turf fields.
What's the life of the synthetic turf itself?
We'd have to find out, I think. So what the guy in Denver told me was he thinks it will last about 16 years. I think the warranties are probably 10 or 12. So we would need to figure out probably once every 8 to 10 years, we need to resurface the track and then redo the soccer field as well and just figure out how that works. And that would be part of the long-term sustainability, is also figuring out how to do the maintenance for that.
Which we know how much it costs to replace like the synthetic turf, just the turf, not the track,
Probably 200,000 or so.
200K.
You agree with that, Russell?
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to your maintenance, okay? And so you are combing this, sounds strange, you comb it. As long as you're combing it on the regular schedule, you're lifting it, and by that lifting, you're actually rejuvenating, okay? And if you're doing it right, and you're also not doing not doing ice removal, snow removal is fine, but you don't want to do ice removal, you know, it's already ice. So there's just some things you do in terms of maintenance that actually, they will actually guarantee, you can get like a 20-year guarantee on it, okay, 20-year warranty. They'll actually say they'll go 25, but they'll also say, did you maintain? Okay, so it comes down to maintenance, which is something that Sean and I have already talked about. We're definitely willing to do, and we have opportunities to make sure that happens. But it is progressing, and I think that's the great part about it, is the progression of it and where it's going, because it's not just the environment, it's also, there's some poor studies out there too about its safety. It actually, for amateur athletes, is much safer. Okay, it's professional athletes where it may not be safe, okay, I would be honest with you. But amateur athletes, it's actually known to be much safer. Professional athletes, none of us are, we don't cut like they cut, we do things they do, okay, so it is a little bit different in that area, but, yeah. And Leslie's done some great research, so please reach out to Leslie if you have any questions, so. And we are currently working with Tincati too, so Tincati, the company she was mentioning, who is environmentally concerned, is actually working with Belmont, our engineering firm. So we are working with the best.
And then they'll give us some options that we'll have to assess, you know, related to cost and thickness of pads. Even the grass turf, we had an assessment. They said that's $20,000 a year to maintain the grass turf, assuming you have access to easy water, et cetera. So
If we were to try to get grass and put a grass, it costs us about $250,000 just to put it in. With the irrigation and everything, and then at least 20 to 30,000 a year. And the scary part of that is the chemicals you're going to put on it to maintain. I don't like this.
Yeah, the Denver School District guy said, you can have grass is beautiful if you have a dedicated person to weed, water, and aerate it throughout the year. But we don't have that kind of team, so. It's a good option.
It's a great question.
Other questions in the audience? Anybody, either on Zoom or here in the room? What color is the field? You're not gonna go like a crazy.
No, we're not going.
We're not going.
Our school colors are green, so we're safe.
Have you seen the boys?
Their colors are green.
I know.
Still have to ask if it's gonna be yellow.
That's a good question.
Don't let the student color in, let's do green.
So yeah, one thing we have discussed as a committee is a pledge of $5,000 from the town. To show that you're partners with us and that we can go and get the rest of our funding from other places. So I don't know if that's a decision that's made right now or something you guys will have to talk about.
Probably be something we have to talk about a little bit.
And can I throw in something there? And we're looking at some reciprocity there. We know you have some projects going on right now.
That's the first thing I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
That we want to be involved in.
We'll write you a check for $5,000 if you write us.
We turn around, the green, street park, whatever, and so that we show our support that way. So.
Yes.
Just one of those
Something
things.
like that, yeah, because, I mean, I know,
Some of our projects coming out at
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
frontier.
yeah,
So
For
it's just.
sure, and that supports the youth of our school districts, et cetera. So I think it's really, and we're excited about the Green Street piece. We had a good conversation. They're gonna come up to the school and look at some of that partnership there. It's
Great.
cool.
sounds good, cool.
No, thank you for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for putting
Thanks.
in all that work and really
Yeah.
knowing what we were gonna say about the term, because that was the
Long
whole.
time.
Good committee,
That's Preston.
hard work.
Is there consensus to give them a letter of support now anyway?
I would like, yeah, that's what I was asking, like,
Yeah.
can we separate those things? and
Yeah,
say
we
yes,
can definitely
absolutely. Like, I would move that we do a letter of support showing that the town's behind him, especially because they need that when they're working on their grants and their other funding sources, and then
Then we
the
can
council
talk-
can decide
Talk
separately.
money, so.
Yeah.
And we can do like a little letter of request for that, if that's more helpful, or this works as a request.
This works as a request.
Okay. So Josie made her first motion. Is there a second?
Seconded. Did.
Seconded by Paul. Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Scrambley,
Aye, absolutely.
Kroger,
Absolutely.
Aiken,
Aye.
Skylar,
Aye.
Scoville,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer.
Aye.
There you go. Passes unanimously. We'll write you a letter of support. Thank you, guys. Appreciate all the effort. Okay.
Thank you very much, guys. Great presentation.
Okay, that takes us to policy matters. Number 12 is ratification of memorandum of understanding by and between San Miguel Power Association Incorporated, the Town of Ridgway, and the Town of Ridgway concerning a microgrid for community resilience construction grant from Colorado Department of Local Affairs. Preston.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So, first of all, huge shout out again to Terry Schuyler for all his work to secure the microgrids for community resilience program grant from DOLA to support our microgrid project at, Space to Create. So I think we learned last month that was awarded. DOLA is still in the contracting phase, but this item revolves around the need to modify how the initial grant contract was shared with SMPA by DOLA. Just to make sure the logistics and the relationship between the town and SMPA was captured correctly. So the MOU has already been executed as requested by DOLA to help them along with the contracting process. Unfortunately, I don't think we have a contract yet from DOLA unless Terry has an update, but this item is just to ratify that.
No, we're just waiting for the final version of it.
Okay, any questions up here on council? Regarding this item, pretty straightforward. Anybody in the audience have questions? Or on Zoom? I'm seeing hands.
And just for an FYI, there's a lot more to do with this beyond just the project. Hopefully next month, when we do have a contract, we'll have to have an addendum to our lease agreement with Artspace to allow this to happen, but they're certainly attentive to this. They're excited about it. It's already, the conduit's already there to make this happen, so we just have to go through the.
Do we have any ideas what our ongoing maintenance costs is gonna be on this, or how often does this need to be updated?
For the microgrid?
Yeah.
That's a Terry Schuyler question.
Yeah, Terry, you got thoughts on that?
Yeah, there shouldn't be any really significant maintenance costs. Once the system is installed, the solar array does not require any maintenance. The battery bank does not require any maintenance. You know, there may be if there's any issues with the operation of the system, it would be covered under the warranty of the project. So once the town procures the system and becomes the owner of the system, then if there's any issues, there would be a warranty claim essentially, which we don't expect to happen. The battery bank should last somewhere between 7 and 10 years. That's assuming it gets used on a regular basis, which really it will only get used during a power outage. You know, SMPA could come back to the town and request, this is a future thing, looking into dispatching the battery power for a particular program, but that's not currently in the cards. So essentially, to answer your question, there's no real projected reoccurring maintenance costs.
How long is the warranty usually?
10 years.
And so that's for the battery bank and the panels?
Correct. The whole system will have a 10-year warranty on it.
Okay.
So we will have to replace the batteries at some point, but
Likely not within 10 years, though.
within 10 years, right? What's the battery technology? I should know that, but is it?
It would be a form of a lithium-ion type battery, but the actual chemistry I'm not sure of. Depends upon, you know, once the procurement process goes into play, then you know the responding, they call it the EPC, the engineering procurement contractor, will provide the specs to the town on the details of that.
Does that answer your questions? Yeah, okay.
And I will assist.
Yeah.
Preston in the RFP procurement process through SMPA as a contractor to SMPA.
Right. Yeah, Russ made a good point. We'll just have to budget for, our 10-year plan and be prepared for new batteries.
Right. And I'll recuse myself from this vote.
Okay, not to dismiss.
Thank you for all of your work on this, Terry. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we know it's a ton of work, but it's really going to be a great thing.
But I moved to ratify the MOU between the town of Ridgway and SMPA.
Second. All right, motion by Beth, seconded by Russ. Roll call, please.
Counselor Scrambley,
Aye.
Causer,
Aye.
Bacon,
Aye.
Skylar is abstaining.
Abstain, yeah.
Schofield,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer.
Aye. All right, that passes 6-0 with one abstention, or 5-0 with one abstention, sorry. Great, thank you for that. That takes us to item number 13, the Town of Ridgway Community Grant Program. Review and direction regarding the establishment of that.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I hope you all had a chance to read through the staff report and the supporting materials. There's a lot of information there. At the end of the day, one of the goals for this year in our strategic plan is to develop procedures, more formal procedures for solicitation, evaluation, and funding for an actual community grant program. It's something that Pam and I have been talking about for quite some time. I think we all of us have. The process currently from staff's point of view is pretty successful and not unique in any way, but we do suggest more structure by way of, again, more formal procedures for asking for requests, evaluating those requests, and then ultimately funding those requests. That would make it even more successful. So what's before you is an attempt to put all of that in place, and that's in the exhibit to the staff report, exhibit A, I think it is. You'll see application requirements, submittal guidelines, eligibility criteria, review criteria, a review process and schedule that's specific to 2025 and will be amended based on the fiscal year. Information about an ad hoc review committee comprised of town staff and members of the community to make recommendations to you all, the town council, on funding for various organizations. And then another element is setting a maximum amount of money for funding that the committee's ultimate recommendations would not exceed. That's a really important part. Another element that wasn't mentioned in the staff report, I should have mentioned it, my apologies, was that once awards are determined by you all and then enacted via the budget, staff thinks it's imperative that award letters acting as grant agreements be sent out to these organizations and actually executed, put into place. Those agreements could contain funding conditions, one of which would be a requirement to submit a report that verifies how the awarded monies were used to assist us in understanding if the monies were used the way that folks said they were going to use the monies, and then also give us an understanding of how or measuring the impact of the program, the service, the activity that was requested funding for, the impact on the local economy. It also gives information on number of direct persons served. So that doesn't, it depends on the request, but generally speaking, that information would be helpful, especially going into the next fiscal year, the next round of funding requests. So that's a lot of information. I'm curious to know how you all feel about what's before you. I can answer any questions.
I have a question on, it said in here that funds are not available for capital improvements, equipment, or supplies. And I mean, obviously I'm new here, but I assume a lot of the requests are from nonprofits. Is that currently a thing, or why is that line in there? Because I feel like a lot of nonprofits that are small organizations in the small community, I think sometimes those are items that they are specifically asking for help with.
Yeah, and again, this is just a template.
Okay, I didn't know if you guys had like already
No.
customized it to our community, because I like the template. I thought that was really nice.
That's a
Even
good
for
question.
applying, it's a good way to make it very clear what you guys need, but,
Yeah, no, good question.
but I would be concerned about that line being included.
That's what we need here, so we can certainly take that out. I think you make a good point because there are, over the years, I think John and others can talk to it better than I can, because I want to hear 5 years Pam as well, but, requests have run the gamut across the board for a number of things, including capital projects, I think, for some of these nonprofits, et cetera. I would venture to guess, so that you make a good point.
I think the capital improvements, equipment supplies is fine. I would want to know about lifespan of those, like in this, if that's a thing, right? Like we're talking about the track field, how long does it last, right? If we're making an investment in some piece of lighting equipment that Minerva wants, how long, what is the service life of that?
Right,
Like,
it's a
how many
2-year or a
productions?
10-year. Yeah, exactly.
So I would be with Jim, I think that's fine to add it, but I'd wanna know if we're doing that,
specifics
is
about
this
that.
like an annual fee that you pay?
Right.
Cause that needs to be in your organizational operating budget, right?
And I was curious, it leans, my indication was that it leans towards 501c3s. Is that a requirement? Or are we just trying to move in that direction?
Good question. That's a question for you all. But most of the programs that we've researched, really hone in on nonprofit organizations that require that 501c3 status. I'm not going to sit here and opine on whether or not that's the right way to go, but certainly, actually,
I would think-
there have been organizations outside of nonprofits that have been given funding in the past.
Not usually. I think there was one this year that might not have been a nonprofit, maybe one though. But usually they are.
Cause I believe we discussed a couple of them this year that we said really shouldn't fall under that and really should, am I remembering this correctly?
I remember having some like, oh, what is happening with this one?
We
And I
always
just
do this, it's a,
Back to the thing.
yeah.
If I could.
Yeah,
find
just
it.
so everybody knows that the way the town of Ridgway's done was forever, as long as I've been involved, is we've had a part of the budget that we have referred to as council initiatives. For whatever reason, it was always called that. And basically organizations around the community, Second Chance, Charbonneau,
Public art,
Soccer
Impoverished
association.
Watershed, George
Baseball.
River.
and
We all get in.
and initially it was probably less than 10. This year we probably had 25 or 30.
Yeah, so like, what I was picturing was like juvenile diversion is in here.
Right.
That is, I believe, a governmental, what is that a number, 501(c)(3)?
That's the San Miguel County Sheriff's Office.
So
Well,
that's a contribution.
It actually is a service that that we used to contribute to, and then they decided to take all the organizations that contributed to them and have them designate a specific amount of money for a specific amount of time.
So,
And I believe that contract, just off the top of my head, was like for 8 or 10 years that we committed to giving them that specific amount of money every year.
so that's not really something that's open to this committee to decide if we're contractually obligated. At the same thing, Region 10, is that just our membership in Region
Yeah,
10?
it is. And
So again, that's a thing that,
I was gonna say, the Region 10 doesn't come under council initiatives now, does it?
that was under there at our budget retreat last year.
That can all be cleaned up in the budget.
Yeah, I think there's
So-
some other things like juvenile diversion, Region 10, it should just be regular line
But that's part of this discussion,
Right.
right, is when those things are here. Cause my other thought on this was, if we were at 2.5% of the budget this year, I wouldn't, dropping to 2%, although that
I
might be.
question about that too.
Well, then that might be fine if we pull out a couple of these things that aren't really council initiatives and leave the council initiatives there. We can debate exactly what number we should end up at,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't want to go to our community organizations and drop from 2.5% to 1% in a year. If we decided that was what we were doing, I'd want to see us, what are we going to allot for 2025? And then hopefully if we were going to go lower, ratchet it down. Cause I think something on the order of 2% sounds right. 2.5 starts to maybe be a little on the upper end. I'm not sure. I'm open to that discussion, or we decide it's 2.5.
think it all depends. Every year might be a little different just because of what the economy.
Well, but the way.
But that's a scale that moves.
I know, yeah, the way this is written, it's not.
And if I may, bring up a good point, that was in the staff report. We'll have a full work session devoted to that conversation and I guess give or take, I don't remember that, but we'll
Yes,
take it as
like
it
that.
comes to pinpoint what's right for the town, in setting that not to exceed amount. Again, this is just one way to skin the cat. So if you all have any other ideas, as Chase Jones used to say, if you all have any other ideas on how to approach that, by all means.
No, I think we're on the right track, because what we were noticing last year is it has just continued to balloon. There's lots of awesome things happening in Ridgway. There's lots of groups coming to us. So how much of that needs to come from Ridgway? You know, I do think basing it as some percentage of town's budget does make sense. I agree.
And so,
Go ahead.
like the home trust, is the home trust part of our initiatives?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I kind of got the sense that it may have been what you were talking about a little bit, Beth, because this year, I recall in the budget conversation, there was a decision to treat the home trust a little bit differently as they've been seed funded over the last few years to get a staff better established. And, you know, get ready over the next couple of months. There's going to be some pretty intensive conversations, specifically about the home trust. That's a story for another day, but you bring up a good point. Home trust, in my mind, still sits in that council initiative category. But it'll be important for you all to decide if it should still be as part of this, or if it'll be treated standalone the way I was just talking about, how you all kind of decided the last budget cycle.
I thought we funded home trust out of affordable housing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so we'd already kind of taken that one and said this is just an operating expense that we're contributing to. In the same way, juvenile diversion, we're contractually obligated to, in the same way, all these pieces.
I think you're right.
So, which then, I guess, I agree that the nonprofit status is actually appropriate for the community grant program. You could also. Yeah, I think that would be fine.
But I mean, is the soccer, Uray County Soccer and Uray Baseball, are those?
Yep.
Are 1, 2, 3?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Cool. No, I think it's a good approach.
I think it would be great if after last year going through council initiatives at budget time, it was.
It's
maybe
gonna standardize.
It'd be nice to have a process like this for people to apply to.
Well, and you know, we all have our opinions and we try to represent a diverse view, but having a few citizens on here would be really helpful.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an excellent idea to have community members who are not sitting up here.
Right.
Agreed.
Well, and they're not looking at the budget as a whole either. Like and because we didn't have a cap, we were seeing council initiatives as a piece instead of saying, here is your piece.
How are we gonna divide it?
How do you divide this up?
Yeah, I do think that, you know, in terms of direction, I think in crafting this, we need to leave ourselves a little flexibility for that percentage of the previous year's general fund operating expenditures to shift if need be. Either go up or go down.
Yeah, like the goal is to be at 2.5% plus or minus 0.5%, depending on some sort of,
however
we word it, but.
So is that enough direction, Preston?
I think so. I saw a lot of heads nodding.
Actually,
I think we all like the idea.
Great, I appreciate that.
does it make, sorry, I've got one more thought. Does it make more sense for this funding recommendations to come actually a little bit later when we have a better idea of what the overall budget looks like, right? Like it's almost like cart before the horse, right? If we're telling you this is your piece to distribute, do we need to know better what the whole is first?
Supporting nonprofits in the community, making it still a set percentage, 2% of everything, a budget makes sense.
Well, we need to know what the annual budget is to tell them what the 2.5% is.
It's based on the previous year's.
Oh, it's based on the previous year.
Yeah, we check it again. Well, in setting the cap, we won't be at a point in September, October to know what our operating expenditures are gonna look like for 2025. So we always have to check it against previous fiscal year, which isn't the best indicator either, but it's something.
But we could then. Yeah,
But I hear what you're saying. I think your question revolves around when the right time might be to do that. We can play with it as we go in terms
Yeah.
of when in the budget process we have that conversation.
it's been traditionally one of the very last things that we do on the budget. So it's not like it's driving our conversation, what those recommendations are.
It's the second to last. You do that and then you approve the budget.
Yes, yes. But in terms of actual changes in writing it.
That was a great discussion in the room, and it was really nice to see this get legs after we started talking about it last fall. So kudos to staff for putting this together. This is awesome.
Thanks, Kevin. Looks like we lost Terry somehow.
I think he's on the phone.
Oh. Okay. All right, so it sounds like you've got enough direction on that. So great. So that takes us to review and action on special event permit application from the Youth Advisory Council for a pickleball tournament at Ridgway Athletic Park.
Yeah, thank you. So before you is your standard application for special event permit. It's actually for our Youth Advisory Council. I filled it out myself on their behalf. Towards the end of each school year, the last few years tasking the Youth Council with coming up with like a I call it a capstone type project. Kind of as a culminating experience. And at their last meeting, was it last week down or a couple of weeks ago? We asked them to give a presentation on what their capstone was going to be. They stood, or they were sitting right here actually, and they said they have decided to partner with the Ridgway Pickleball Club to organize a tournament on May 11th, same day as the block party at the bowl.
I noticed that.
Oh boy, it's gonna be a fun day.
You know, it'll be a fun day in Ridgway. Held at the Ridgway Athletic Park. Logistics still have to be worked out. Nothing's set in stone. The Youth Council threw out to John and myself, entry fee of around $5, proceeds being split between the pickleball club and a local women's shelter or a similar cause. It was really neat to see how they kind of came together and came to consensus on this. So again, we're still working out logistics. They have this room booked tomorrow to come in and work amongst themselves to, and maybe others too, to kind of finalize some stuff so they can start doing ads and outreach and whatever else is needed to put on a tournament. So they are also scheduled to come before you all at the next meeting. That's May 8th to give their end of year presentation. And I think you'll hear a lot about the tournament, which will just be a couple days later. I think that's the gist.
Any anticipation of the size? Up to 125 attendants?
I totally made that up.
Is it focused on children or adults or both, or? That's also Weehawken and Performance Weekend, just in terms of thinking about community participation. There's a lot of families that'll be in Montrose.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea though.
Yeah. I think it sounds great.
Anybody in the audience have comments or questions? We've got some pickleballers here.
Yeah, might as well step in because it's like they
But
said.
come up then so people can hear you.
Yeah, so I'm Clark Gilbert, I'm the president of the Ridgway Pickleball Club. And like they mentioned, we've been partnering with them and we're all in on making sure they've got a successful and well-run tournament. We've got a wealth of experience, but we've run one now, so. And we'll be back also in a month to talk about our special permit. So.
Great, thanks, Clark.
Thanks for helping them.
I think this is great.
Yeah.
All right.
This is
So I'll move to approve the application for special event permit. Provide authority for staff to approve event details once impacts are better understood.
Second.
A motion by Russ, seconded by Polly. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Graham,
Aye.
Parker, Lincoln, Skylar.
Skylar, or Terry, can you unmute?
How do you do that on the phone?
There's a
Star 6 or star 9, one of those.
Or just tap on the screen and the unmute button will show up.
It does.
Oh, with the app.
Yeah, if you're on the app, I'm sure that's where you're at. Yeah.
Or even if you're just on your phone, you can like hit something.
Star 9.
It's a star six or star nine.
I don't remember.
We're gonna vote for Kevin, and if it doesn't work, it's gonna be fine.
Well, unless we hear from Terry in a second, we'll have him as abstention.
Yeah.
Um,
Scoville. And Mayor Pro Tem Meyer.
All right, passes mostly unanimously. All right, that takes us to the annual appointment of Mayor Pro Tem and review and council representation on commissions, committees, and boards. So that's my name on it. And every year after the April election, we talk about these things. And my first question is always to the Mayor Pro Tem, asking if he still wants to remain Mayor Pro Tem. That's fine. Okay. So I would ask for a motion to reappoint Russ Meyer as Mayor Pro Tem.
I move to reappoint Russ Meyer as Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Polly, seconded by Kevin. If I can get my clogged brain to work, and we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Counselor Scrambley,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Bacon.
Aye.
I should have even say Skylar. Probably not. Skylar is abstaining. Scoville and
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer.
What on it? Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Joe Biden voted for himself, yes, he did.
Yeah. It's right there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think you're right.
Thank you so much, Russ. We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so then,
Actually, real quick, Mayor, sorry to interrupt, but
That's no-
Terry texted me just a little while ago, probably having service trouble, but he said he votes for Russ being Mayor Pro Tem for the record, but not really for the record, since this is a text. And he's also interested in being the town's liaison for the county fairgrounds and the town rep on the Sustainability Advisory Board. So.
Okay.
So if I'm clear, he's stepping up to stay on what he has been doing.
I think he's replacing.
He's replacing JT, but he had already been going.
That makes sense.
So first thing we usually do is look to see what other things JT was covering, because we need to replace him in those roles. And
Snuffle Center.
Energy board.
it's
He's the alternate for the water users.
And then do we need an alternate in the sustainability board since Terry's looking to take over that main one?
I think we can just swap them out because JT was willing and actually wanted to stay on the sustainability. Is that?
Well, but then he would fill a citizen role, not a councilor role.
Okay.
We don't have alternates for all our boards, so I don't know if we need one. That's.
Right, 'cause we'll have-
That's a good point. Josie, is there anything that jumps out at you that you'd like to do?
I would say I know almost nothing about any of these boards, so it's hard to have an opinion yet.
Yeah, I didn't know how much you researched them at all. If you have questions, let us know.
Preston, the alternate on the weed board is the town engineer, which is you. Do you want a council member? It's a fairly low commitment, but I'm not going to be able to attend the meeting at the end of them because they're having it at 2 p.m. while I'm still teaching.
On for the weed board?
Yeah. Do
So,
you want somebody other than you to be the alternate?
Well,
You're.
I've been an engineer on TV.
Well, but we don't have a town engineer, so that generally would fall to. That's true, but okay, does Joanne want to?
Joanne's on Zoom, and I guarantee.
Does not want to do that. Actually, I actually don't mind being on weed board. I just don't like when I can't be there.
Can Joyce attend? Is she?
Joanne's unmuting.
Oh, yeah. Joyce is
You've got it.
What are your thoughts, Joanne?
When does it meet? When does it meet?
It meets approximately quarterly would be my take. They have a meeting on the 23rd at, I think it's at 3 p.m. So I will be teaching during the whole thing. They last about an hour. We don't have a voting seat. We're just listening. Liaison.
I'll still be down south of on April 23rd, so that may not
Yeah, I think it'd probably be good if we maybe tap Joyce.
Okay,
We can
I
put town manager on there.
Okay, and you can designate it.
I'm glad about that.
I had them at 4 and then it went by.
You want to keep doing it when you can.
I do like it, actually, yeah.
Sorry, I'm back.
We're not sorry you're back. We're glad you're back.
We do need a Snuffles Energy Board rep potentially.
I mean, what is it? I guess we'll do it.
I could volunteer for that as well.
You'd be a good person to do that. I mean, it gets in the weeds with energy and climate change stuff.
Yeah, that's fine. There, you can do that. It sounds great for that.
I really like my committee. It makes me so happy.
You're so great on that committee, Colleen.
What does she have?
Parks,
Trails and open space.
So we're. I have been liaison for the chamber, which has been great. But if that's something that anyone else is really passionate about, it meets once a month. On the first Monday, second Monday at 5. But I can keep doing that.
Does that interest you at all, Jess?
Sorry, I'm just reading through all of them.
Yeah.
Didn't realize I'd have to pick
And
some.
we can also table this till next month. Give you
Yeah,
to research these things a little more. I would say the chamber one is a possibility. I mean, Beth, you're doing a lot of other things.
I'm attached to CC for CA. I've made some great connections there. I would
Yeah.
like to continue to develop those.
That's a natural. And what else did I say?
Yeah, I mean, I can do the Chamber of Commerce liaison if you want. If you don't want another.
Well,
anyway.
I want you to step up and have a committee and I'm offering this.
If I stepped up by getting on town council, then.
Yes, what
I didn't realize it came with responsibilities.
That had me clean. Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to do the Chamber of Commerce.
I think it's a pretty good fit.
Sure.
I would take JT's alternate on the Water Users Association if no one else is
That'd be great.
jumping at that.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. That's a good fit.
Thanks.
You're good staying on with Fuse, Kevin?
Oh, yeah, as long as Tara will have me.
Okay. I don't think she's kicking you off.
Not yet.
What's our deadline on the scholarship, John? Do you know? So I'm more prepared this year. Sorry.
I doubt it. It's coming up. She did ask me, earlier than she did before, she asked me if we were still doing it this year, and I said yes, and I asked her to update the forms.
Okay.
So hopefully I'll reach out to her next week.
That's good.
We're still got a month and a half.
Yeah, because I ended up having to present the other, because you were at Bluegrass, right?
Right.
So-
And I have
Now,
words
was that it?
No, I
was
could
that-
do Friday.
It wasn't that late. It wasn't Bluegrass. It was something else.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, because no, they do it
Still
during the
during
day.
the school year.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can
Okay.
Okay.
figure it out.
Is that, I'm scanning.
I think that's everything.
Catch everything?
So you're to do alternate and water users.
Preston still does
Yeah, Preston, do you want to give up?
a lot of stuff. You still okay with being on the home trust board?
I'm still okay with that. That one's a pretty hefty commitment, just to stay on top of everything. Generally, meetings are once a month. I shouldn't say hefty, but I mean, that's a really important. So if anyone wants to do that, by all means, let us know. I think I gave up doing anything with the Sustainability Advisory Board to take on the home trust.
I think that's right. So what did we do there? Was Terry stepping up to be the primary and who's doing the options? Is that you, Beth?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, for the
For
sustainability?
sustainability.
Yes, I will. That will work.
Oh, I thought that's what you said.
No, I was talking about the Water Users
The
Association.
water, right.
But sure, as an alternate, I'm happy to expand my things in terms of one-off step-ins. That's fine.
You're the alternate on the SAB and gave up
It
the
doesn't-
chamber liaison to Joseph.
Yes,
Yep.
So
I'll do
that seems
chamber.
fair, because chamber is a fairly regular one, and I can pick up some more.
And I can learn.
I can stay alternate on Snuffles Energy.
Not, yeah.
Who's the primary on the Sneffels?
It was.
That was you. I thought you volunteered to do that.
I will, for sure, yeah.
Because I said Terry would be good at that one. I think that's how you volunteered.
No, he texted, didn't he?
I thought you said
He said he did.
No,
but
it said,
Well, he said it's sustainability, but he also said.
Well, both the sustainability, the SAB and Sneffels, I can be primary on those if you wish.
Sounds good.
Well, yeah, I think that's what we came down to.
And I don't know how much longer it's gonna last. Water and Land Committee is floundering.
Is it?
Well, the guy who's put it all together, Mike Berry, is retiring from Tri-County.
oh, I didn't know that, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard that.
Just announced that?
No, it's been
in his deal for a while.
A few months.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So he's got a new replacement coming in, but it's not known if the replacement's gonna run this. He's looking for somebody else to run it. There's still kind of a lack of direction in exactly what they're gonna do and how they're gonna do it. They're trying, but I don't know how much longer that one's gonna be on.
So who else represented?
I mean, there's.
City of Ray and the county.
Yeah, Delta's in there, county commissioners. Shay used to show up for a while. UDWUA, all the heavy water hitters are involved in it. It's just.
Seems like it's an important one, for sure.
It is, they like direction and what they're gonna do and how they're gonna sustain themselves, in my opinion.
Pam, do you have all of the notes
I
down?
do.
Okay.
Would you like me to go through it?
I have, just, that'd be great, yeah.
So we've got on the Sustainability Advisory Board, Counselor Schuyler, alternate Lakin. The Erie County Weed Board, we're changing the alternate to the town manager. Snuffles Energy Board is now Counselor Schuyler. The Water User Association, the alternate is now Lakin, and the Chamber of Commerce is now Scoville.
That sounds good. Everybody okay with all that?
Yep.
Sounds good.
All right. So that takes us to the spectacular town managers report.
Is it because Kevin got the joke?
I don't know, I was just gonna say that
Did I
the
read
joke
yours?
left me, the joke
That-
left me a little disappointed.
Really?
That is a great joke.
Well, yeah, it's because you're invested in it, that's why.
I still laugh at that joke.
I didn't read it. What is it? What's the joke?
What does a nosy pepper do?
It's done up in your business.
All of it.
Gets
like John
all up in
Lopez.
your business.
Done up in your business.
Oh, okay.
Pam, you know that's funny.
It gets all up in your business.
I tried to.
I love, Kevin, I love that you can charge your phone on your bed there.
Now you have to explain a joke.
Bo, give a thumbs down.
Oh, bro.
Sorry, Kevin.
Bo's always a downer.
Josie and I both agree, it reads better than it's said.
Yeah.
It does.
I mean, I have to say, it took me a second.
Yeah.
It's a thinker. It's a thinker.
All right, let's go through this report.
Preston,
Just roll
Hit us up.
real quick. And have to answer your questions. The town was awarded $600K for the water line. The loan application was due about 5 days ago. Joanne had it submitted well before then, so kudos to Joanne for all.
Thanks,
her great
Joanne.
work.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne. That's awesome.
June is when that'll be considered and hopefully approved. I think we could do a bid solicitation concurrently. We'll figure that out. Joanne and I were talking about that today, but we're looking at late summer, fall for the water line project. Good news. Green Street Park Master Planning Meeting, April 18th, 5:30 in the Decker Room. That's the public meeting, kind of that kickstart, if you will, a series of stakeholder meetings throughout the day with Parks Trails and Open Space Committee, the SAB, the community garden folks, the apiary folks, Susan and Russell were already talking about how they met with Stacy and Super Boom already. So Super Boom's doing a great job. They've jumped in, and there's other stakeholders too, but it's going to be a busy day for them. But that market calendars for the 18th in the Decker Room. Huge shout out to Steven Schroeder. I don't know if anyone's noticed how clean the highway looks. He got up at 3:30 in the morning twice last week to street sweep, and I noticed because it's like a lot of rocks and cinders and stuff, and it looks great compared to what it used to. So huge shout out to him, and also shout out to him and Bobby. They have new food bag stations on order for Space to Create. So we'll get those installed. Street grading starting soon. Already started kind of on Amelia because it needed a lot of work, but
They were on there today.
with adding gravel to streets, that'll be throughout this month, starting on Monday, I think, and then grading through the month of May. So same as it ever was, but we've kind of modified how we do those operations this year. We'll see how it goes. And we modified it largely because it's Mike Jenkins really leading that charge. Now that he's gone, we have it's all hands on deck. This one's been on here the last few months, but I haven't sent a doodle poll to set a date yet since we have Josie on board now, but the town council has formally adopted a 2-mile stretch of Highway 62 to clean up every once in a while. Adopt a highway. So I'm gonna get one set.
You're looking at me like. Did those when I was a kid, Preston.
Make sure.
Yeah.
So I
Well
will,
aware.
I will set a poll to figure out if we can find a time where all of you, probably without Terry.
Terry is being kidnapped and brought to the event.
Respectfully, I will drag you there.
He gets the message. We make sure that.
He's always in the desert.
I'm sorry, I had to pause for a moment. Did I miss something? Did I accidentally volunteer for something?
Yes.
Yes, you did, and you haven't missed it yet.
You're doing the next cleanup by yourself.
Oh, hey, I'm trying like hell to be part of that.
It's gonna happen this year.
It's obvious.
We're gonna ask you first for the dates and then everybody else to chat. And that way, if you're the only one. who can do
Okay,
it.
anyway. Love it.
But I think even more important is the trade agency.
Yes.
Yes.
That was probably supposed to happen in the first quarter and we're already into the second. Not
Bigger problems than over.
There are bigger problems in the.
But yeah, we can set a date.
Let's sign it up. Do a poll on that.
Do a poll, yeah. Because I think the last one was, when was that?
December. For your report.
And I think they were late too, so it's okay.
So.
The Solar Edge people are very excited, I'm sure, about Clear Networks coming in.
We are.
Hey, when is it coming to the north part of town? I've been querying that for 2 years.
Have you been bugging them?
Yeah, I keep pinging them.
Kevin, it looks like you could connect already. Clear Networks.
Not yet. As soon as what is the dig date? April 15th? Is that, yeah.
Your street says was completed
But
last
you can't
fall.
take it to his house.
Yeah, but I've already paid the deposit. And I'm just waiting for the right to dig and they're gonna put it right up my driveway. I'm stoked.
I'm getting ready to go into bed with Elon Musk.
Oh, get the Starlink.
Well, it feels like a big problem, but okay.
Okay, next.
Not literally, by the way, just saying.
Cleanup Day is April 20th. Just a reminder, that's a Saturday. This year, we're gonna be offering free mulch. I think I talked about that last meeting, but that would be cool. Shout out to Jennifer Nelson for being the one to try to get the free mulch deal going. Jennifer's on.
Can I ask you a question about that mulch? Is it pine bark mulch or what's the nature of the mulch? If I wanted to get some, what's the nature of the mix?
It's a little bit of everything.
It's the branches that we all set out on Monday or Wednesday or whatever it is. So whatever it is you
So
put out as yard
it's
waste.
probably mostly cottonwood and box elder, but there's probably a little bit of everything.
I do want to add, thank you to Ash Perkins, when we discussed the whole electronics event thing,
It's
it's
happening,
happening. So just so we're on the record that it's happening.
It's happening the same day.
Same day, same time. Do we know if it's in the same place?
Same place, like it's great.
And we also have a scrap
Can,
metal.
can you clarify that? Is there gonna be an electronics?
Alpine Bank is doing the e-waste event and they've asked
Oh, they were.
Erie County Baseball to be there to help support it and people can do donations for the nonprofit at that time too.
Great.
So it's a cool way to hold in a lot of the
Right,
community.
because there was some discussion about the fact that that was not gonna exist.
That's why I brought it up.
They got reclamation to come in, awesome, which is very cool.
Cool.
What else?
Yeah, a lot of pictures in this report, so hopefully it's a little more colorful than usual.
Like,
Chad called me out for not having enough color.
I think I asked you for not having pictures. I did it.
Yeah.
I don't, I think it doesn't sound like it, may have actually.
I bet it was.
It probably feels like.
We have the Hey Ridgway ad that we do every month. If you guys ever have any ideas on what we should advertise, shout out to Aaron and Mike and Kate Jones who helped us get the ad going. A lot of info on the one that the edition that just dropped, I think. Love Your Valley, May 18th, that's a Saturday.
Oh.
Yeah, organizing that. There's a snazzy photo of our new electric utility cart that Mr. Mike Gill largely drives around town to inspections. Pam drove it the other day, that was wild.
We should love go car.
Morning, fast. Around town. We had to
Got it, you got a tour of the electric cart? Very cool.
Oh dear.
And last thing, Miss Ariel Bielak.
Belak. Belak.
No, it's BLM.
I work for her, I promise.
She, when she spells it out on her name tag, it's capital or letter B, UHLAK.
Oh, interesting,
The
sorry.
doesn't get separate.
Belak. Got it, thank you.
He has been contracted as the community room coordinator for the Deco Room for about 10 hours a week, so we're excited to have her on.
Perfect fit.
Perfect.
I agree.
Any questions for Preston?
Kevin, you might know, what time does the happy hour start on the 21st? Refused.
I would guess 5:30.
That would be my guess. It was just not in here. Just managing my calendar every day, you know.
You know, what we didn't put on there, you're gonna all receive an invitation tomorrow is Wanda's retirement card.
What? I did find out.
What? Retirement.
What day is that?
Which will be May 15th. At the depot at 5. We're gonna have dinner and an open bar, and then at 6:30, it's gonna be open to the public. We will no longer have an open bar.
No, no, May.
May 15th.
May 15th,
Not
yeah.
Monday. Oh, how exciting.
So you said 5?
That's why we hired new.
5, yes, and we'll have dinner.
That's why we hired you.
Dinner brought in.
She missed that.
Has there been a motion to allow her to retire?
I think she deserves to retire when she wants to.
You know, we could probably just miss out the tri-agency dinner.
I'll go for that.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if everyone else is ready for that.
No. The city bureau definitely is not. If it's still on there, you can't print that in.
Can we make a motion to prevent her from retiring?
Okay, anyway, moving on.
Not accepting motions at this time.
Oh, geez.
It's a tough crowd, I know. I mean, if you had a serious motion, I'd like to go. Any other questions?
Great.
Welcome to the club, Josie.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah,
Here to
Glad-
welcome the person.
I am glad you're here.
He's swearing in day, he can't be here.
He makes sure he's never here when he's sworn.
Does everyone know if they could be here on May eighth, in person for the meeting? So we could do a group photo?
That would be good. Is everybody coming on May 8th to the next council meeting?
I will be here.
Well,
That's
you know-
my anniversary too. So I mean, Valentine's Day and anniversary.
You're killing it this year.
That's why I say I will not be here.
You're screwed.
I'll be at the Creative District convening.
Oh, that's right, okay. Yeah, no big deal, but good to know in advance, so we can meet for June.
We'll have to do. It's up here for June.
You guys send out like a list of all the meetings for the year that I can put in, or is it just always the
It's-
second Wednesday?
The second Wednesday.
Except for John did offer us an option on Valentine's Day this year.
And I got a bunch of grief about it when it actually came in to happen, so. Anyway,
And I'll send a calendar invite with this.
I will be here out of the 12th.
So.
Yeah, I live and die by my calendar, so super helpful. Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else?
Yeah.
If I have nothing, I will say we're adjourned.
Huzzah!
Great to see you guys. Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Happy holidays from Florida.
Terry, have fun, buddy. I'll talk to you.
I think it's.
Yeah.
cool.
Ciao.
Ciao.